Welcome to my channel, government kids. Remember to click like and subscribe down below. Don't forget to hit that little bell so that you make sure that you have notifications every time I post a new video. Jared Haas is currently on the floor, laying on the floor laughing at that introduction. It was ridiculous. Jana, what's your problem? This is going to forever be enshrined in this video. If I teach government again, this will be in here. Anyway, we're going to go through the major topics for the exam on the executive branch really quickly. So here she goes. I'm going to get my pen out. Oh my God, Jared, stop. Okay. First topic was the bulkiest topic of all of them. There's going to be most of the test on that topic, which is the terms, qualifications, and powers of the president. So the first objective, which is pretty simple, is what are examples of formal and informal powers of the president. If we jump down right down here, we'll have some different examples. Oh, cripey. Gotta erase that. Okay. Um, so a formal power is a power that is directly in the Constitution. The Constitution actually states that the president has. So written in the Constitution, also known as expressed Constitution. So if we look through our handy dandy list of terms here, we got a couple examples. We've got veto and pocket veto are examples of formal powers. Appointment powers, so being able to appoint ambassadors, people to the Supreme Court, federal court system, in the cabinet, so the ability to appoint different members to different executive branch groups. Those are all express powers or formal in the Constitution. And then pardoning powers are in the Constitution as well. The other formal power that doesn't get talked about a lot is giving the State of the Union address once a year, or at least when Congress asks for it. He also can call special sessions to Congress, but that one's not going to show up too often. But basically, if he wants Congress to meet when they're not meeting on some kind of national emergency, he can do that. Informal powers mean that they are not expressed in the Constitution, but over time, since the president's job is to do what, Jana? The president's job is to do what in the executive branch? In the executive branch, to enforce. Thank you, Jared. Enforce the law just like a sheriff might do at some point in his career. Enforce the law. Um, because that's the president's job, they might need to do certain things outside of the expressed powers in order to carry out that power of enforcing the law. So those include things such as executive orders or instructing his or her administration to do things a certain way or interpret a law a certain way or apply a law a certain way. For example, President Obama in 2014 gave a executive order that said that INS, Immigration Nationalization Services, would no longer prioritize any undocumented immigrant that came when they were children, like with their parents. So that's like an executive order. It's saying like we're not saying the law is invalid. We're just saying we're going to prioritize this group of people in this law. So instructing his administration in some way. Executive privilege is where you keep certain information secret that's of national concern or really sensitive to the president. Um, those are the two big ones: executive order, executive privilege. I feel like I'm missing one. No, I mean, setting the tone for the budget is also important, but that's kind of informal power. So those are the two big ones, though: executive orders, and executive privilege. There's also this thing called signing statements that we didn't learn about, but don't worry about that. So list, sorry, the terms and the requirements. So the term limit, or sorry, the term is 4 years. Under the 22nd Amendment, you're limited to 2 terms. Age requirement is 35 years old, and the citizenship requirement means you were a natural born as opposed to being naturalized 14-year resident in the U.S. So you have to have been in the United States for 14 years before your ascendancy to the or ascendance to the throne of the president. Examples how a president can use his or her powers to check the powers of other branches. So the president can issue a veto if they would like to overrule Congress, and that can be overridden by 2/3 vote. He could also. What else could the president do, Jared? Can't make laws, but you can do executive orders to kind of get around specific laws or interpret them differently. He's the commander in chief of the military, so if he doesn't like a declaration of war, he could potentially just yeah, no, he can't stop funding it, but he could potentially just not direct the military in a certain way. That would be a little scary. Um, Also, appointment powers that gives the president the power to appoint judges to the court. So that could also be um, a way of checking the power of the judicial branch. Um, Judicial branch, the only real check they have on the president is declaring certain actions unconstitutional. That's pretty much it. And then we also talked about these roles of the president, chief executive, which means that his job is to, Gianna, enforce the laws, execute the laws. This is the main one in Article 2 of the Constitution. Chief legislator, sorry. He does not have the power to make laws, but he can kind of direct priorities toward laws. So, for example, you might have heard of this thing called Obamacare way back in the day. It's called Obamacare not because President Obama wrote the bill or passed the law, but because it was his idea to make a priority of healthcare reform during his first term. So they call it Obamacare because it was kind of his idea and his direction, but Congress ultimately writes the bill and passes the law. Chief administrator, that deals with kind of being like a manager of the executive branch, including the cabinet departments, the White House staff, and the yeah, the executive office of the president. That's also called the bureaucracy. That whole big group. Chief diplomat means he works with other countries in developing treaties and negotiations and agreements with other countries, like the Iran nuclear deal. Commander in chief means he runs the military, and head of state just means that he's like the figurehead of the United States. When people think of the leader of the United States, they generally think of the president, not the Speaker of the House, or the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, or the governor of Wisconsin. All right, moving on. I wish I knew how much time we had. This thing doesn't keep track of my time. I'm gonna stop after topic one. That's probably enough time. We're probably getting close to the end of the time, and then I'll make a second video on topic two and topic three. So peace.